In March of 2021, a bill that would amend the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act was proposed. This amendment bill has brought with it a lot of criticism and a lot of confusion. So let's have a look. The original act has two parts. It prohibits both the state and private parties from engaging in unfair discrimination against individuals. This includes hate speech. It also obligates both the state and private parties to promote equal opportunity and the achievement of equality. While both parts of this act passed, the second part was never implemented and never came into effect. In 2021, both parts of the original act are now being amended with the hopes that both parts will be able to pass and be implemented. Currently, the amendment is still in its draft stage and has not yet been passed. If the amendment passes, several significant changes will be made to the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. Both the definition of discrimination and the definition of equality will be expanded under the new amendment. Under the expanded definition of discrimination, the intent to discriminate is not required. Discrimination is considered any act that withholds benefits or imposes burdens or causes prejudice or undermines dignity. And this must be based on one of the prohibited grounds or protected classes, but that prohibited ground does not have to be the sole or primary reason for the discrimination. Under the expanded definition of equality, both equal access to resources and opportunities, as well as equality in terms of impact and outcomes, are included. It is important to note that these expanded definitions of discrimination and equality actually bring the Act more in line with current constitutional framework. Intent is already not required to prove discrimination, and the expanded definition of equality is already enshrined within the South African Constitution. Other significant changes to the Act include that private parties will have an obligation in order to promote equality and prevent discrimination. Encouraging someone else to discriminate is included under discrimination, and employers may be held accountable if their employees contravene the Act while in the course of their work or while acting as a representative of the employer. Many people and organizations are opposed to the PEPUDA amendment, and as a result have participated in mischaracterizing the amendment and spreading misinformation about it. Groups that are against the amendment include the Institute of Race Relations, the National Employers Association of South Africa, Freedom of Religion South Africa, the Democratic Alliance, and the African Christian Democratic Party. A major source of opposition for the bill has been from religious organizations. Religious organizations oppose the bill as they believe that it will impede on their religious freedom. However, freedom to unfairly discriminate based on protected characteristics has never been protected under either the Constitution or the law. Particularly, many religious organizations have raised concerns over the part of the amendment that specifies encouraging someone else to discriminate is in fact considered an act of discrimination itself. Some religious organizations have claimed that religious leaders may be at risk because of this part of the new amendment. They claim that it is unfair that a religious leader may be held responsible if they teach a particular message and a congregation member acts on that message, and that action causes prejudice or undermines the dignity of another individual based on a protected characteristic. However, this is exactly why that clause was put into the amendment in the first place. A religious leader cannot preach, for example, homophobic rhetoric, encouraging homophobic action and behavior within their congregation, and then claim impunity because technically they did not engage in the acts that they encouraged. Another significant source of opposition for the bill comes from employers. Many businesses and the National Employers Association of South Africa oppose the bill, and they particularly object to the greater responsibility that will be placed on businesses in order to promote equality and prevent discrimination. In particular, many employers are opposed to the specific section of the amendment that states that employers may be held liable for the discriminatory action of their employees. Employers have claimed that this is unfair as they cannot control what employees do in their personal capacity. However, the amendment specifies that employers will only be held responsible for the discrimination if that discrimination takes place during the course of the employee's work or while the employee is acting as a representative of the company. Additionally, employers will not be held liable if they can show that they took sufficient and reasonable steps in order to prevent the contravention of the Act. Hopefully this video has been able to provide you with some insight into the new proposed amendment to the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act and clear up any misinformation or misunderstanding that you may have had about the amendment. It is really important to note that many of the changes to the Act are really not as significant or as drastic as some publications and organizations have made them out to be. Most of the significant changes to the Act are already enshrined within the South African Constitution or within South African law in some way. Of course, discourse and debate around any new proposed legislation is important and vital within any democracy. However, it's always important to ensure that we are engaging with such legislation in good faith and not mischaracterizing or misrepresenting the legislation, as many organizations and publications have been doing so with regards to this amendment bill. It is also important to remember that this amendment is still in its draft stage, and there is no guarantee that it will even be passed, let alone implemented. If you have any further questions about the amendment to the PEPUDA, please leave them in the comments below and I will try my best to answer them. And thank you so much for watching this video.